Hello, back again with another banger for you. We're gonna do a little challenge here, a little Smash Brothers challenge. Just gonna mess around with this game until Ultimate comes out, because that's gonna be the real banger. And so today I'm going to read the entirety of Beyond the Wall of Sleep by H.P. Lovecraft, the short story, while also playing For Glory 1v1s. It's gonna be, if not impossible, it's gonna look really stupid. And I'm contemplating whether to do Robin only or not, but I think I'll do it. I think I'll do Robin only, because he's got a book and he's reading it all the time. Har har, funny. So, I'm gonna start with some practice matches. Gonna figure out how I'm gonna get because my plan here is get the book that I'm using here. I'm gonna get it propped up in a way to where I can see. It's such a small print, though. Oh my god. This is gonna be absolutely the hardest thing ever. What's happening with this right now? Oh, jeez. Wii U gamepad, come over here. Look what you did. I'm gonna get copyrighted now. Okay. All right. Sorry about that little interruption there. Uh, uh, Are you joking? Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. What? 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 What's going on with the stupid game? I get ripped. Oh. Oh. Okay, don't leave your GameCube controller plugged in longer than 5 minutes. It'll explode on itself. That was quite strange. Okay. Now for the real deal, I'm gonna practice with Robin. Calm down. Calm down. GameCube controller. Jesus. How are these things optimal? Okay, so oh my gosh, lost my page in the ruckus. There we go. I got it good. Okay, got it all jimmied up here. I think this is gonna work. Okay, so let's get in training with Robin. Where's Robin? Right there. And for our CPU, we'll make it just Mario. Okay. And just make it a Omega Battlefield. Okay, he's just gonna stand still, right? Okay. All right. They got the jumpy jumps. Got those. That would be my grab. Okay, let's try neutral. Okay, we can charge it to full. And yeah, it's a pretty decent one. Down B. Oh, this is the damage drainer. It'll heal you with how much you get. Okay. And then that is just a B. And that's the fire one. Okay. No wasting time. Let's get right into it. Oh, jeez. Ugh. Plug the stream. You gotta plug the stream in the Discord. So all the boys and girls can see it with their corneas. And then we'll get rolling. Get crack-a-lackin'. Okay, select to choose what happens with memory cards. Thanks for the memo. Good job. Let's see. And plug has been plugged. And let's do this. I'm not the best reader, mind you. May not be that entertaining listening to me read, but I think this is gonna work. Okay. All right. Okay. 3, 2. Oh wait. Rules. I'm totally not. I'm totally not stalling here. Undead Ups, welcome. Smash Flush better. No, it's not. It's got Goku. It's and Naruto and Noodle Man. Okay, rules. After we go into online, I cannot say any other words. I can no longer greet the handsome people in chat. I can only read what is on these pages. There are 7 pages of the short story and very small print, about like 15 per line and about 100 lines, half a page, something. Okay, that's some numbers for you. Do the math. So we have to read the entire short story. We cannot stop. I might let out a little squeal, but I can't say like, oh my gosh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. So, okay, this is gonna be tough. Okay, no more stalling. No more stalling. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. I have frequently wondered if the majority of mankind ever paused to reflect upon the occasionally titanic significance of dreams and of the obscure world to which they belong. Whilst the greater number of our nocturnal visions are perhaps no more than faint and fantastic reflections of our waking experiences, Freud to the contrary with his perennial symbolism, and there is still a certain remainder whose abundance and ethereal character permits of no ordinary interpretation, and whose vaguely exciting and disquieting effects suggest possible minute glimpses into a sphere of mental existence no less important than physical life, yet separated from that life by an all but impassable barrier. From my experience, I cannot doubt but that man, when lost to terrestrial consciousness, is indeed sojourning in another and uncorporeal life of far different nature from the life we know, and of which only the slightest and most indistinct memories linger after awakening. From those blurred and fragmentary memories we may infer much, yet prove little. We may guess that in dreams, life, matter, and vitality, as the earth knows such things, are not necessarily constant, and that time and space do not exist as our waking selves comprehend them. Sometimes I believe that this less material life is our truer life, and that our vain presence on the terraqueous globe, that it is itself the secondary or merely virtual phenomenon. Oh, Jesus. Oh. It was from a youthful reverie filled with speculations of this sort that I arose one afternoon in the winter of 1900 to 1901, when to the state psychopathic institution in which I served as an intern was brought the man whose care has ever since haunted me so unceasingly. His name, as given on the records, was Joe Slater, or Slaughter, and his appearance was that of the typical denizen of the Catskill mountain region, one of those strange, repellent signs of a primitive peasant stock whose isolation for nearly 3 centuries in the hilly fastnesses of a little-traveled countryside has caused them to sink to a kind of barbaric degeneracy rather than advance with their more fortunately placed brethren of the thickly settled districts. Among these odd folk who correspond exactly to the decadent element of white trash in the South, law and morals are non-existent, and their general mental status is probably below that of any other section of the Native American people. Joe Slaughter, who came to the institution in the vigilant custody of 4 state policemen, and who was described as a highly dangerous character, certainly presented no evidence of his perilous deposition when first I beheld him. Though well above the middle stature and of somewhat brawny frame, he was given an absurd appearance of harmless stupidity by the pale, sleepy blueness of his small, watery eyes, the scantiness of his neglected and never shaven lost my spot. The stature of someone brown fangs, given his small, watery eyes, his growth of yellow beard, and the listless drooping of his heavy nether lip. His age was unknown, since among his kind neither family records nor permanent family ties exist, but from the baldness of his head in front, and from the decayed condition of his teeth, the head surgeon wrote him down as a man of about 40. From the medical and court documents, we learned all that could be gathered of his case. This man, a vagabond hunter and trapper, had always been strange in the eyes and his primitive associates. He had habitually slept at night beyond the ordinary time, and upon waking would often talk of unknown things in a manner so bizarre as to inspire fear even in the hearts of an unimaginative populace. Not that his form of language was at all unusual, for he never spoke save in the debased patois of his environment, but the tone and tenor of his utterances were of such mysterious wildness that none might listen without apprehension. He himself was generally as terrified and baffled as his auditors, and within an hour after awakening would forget all that he had said, for at least all would forget all that he had said, or at least that had caused him to say what he did, relapsing into a bovine, half-amiable normality like that of high dwellers. As Slater grew older, it appeared as his matutinal aberrations had gradually increased in frequency and violence, till about a month before his arrival at the institution had occurred the shocking tragedy which caused his arrival at by the authorities one day near noon, after a profound sleep begun in a whiskey debauch at about 5 of the previous afternoon. No, I'm cheating. And then they brought several neighbors to his cabin, a filthy sty, where he dwelt with a family as indescribable as himself. Rushing out into the snow, he had flung his arms aloft and commenced a series of leaps directly upward in the air, the while shouting his determination to reach some big cabin with brightness in the roof and walls and floor, and the loud, queer music far away. As 2 men of moderate size sought to restrain him, he had struggled with maniacal force and fury, screaming of his desire and need to find and kill a certain thing that shines and shakes and laughs. At length, after temporarily filling one of his detainers with a sudden blow, he had flung himself upon the other in demonic ecstasy of bloodthirstiness, shrieking fiendishly that he would jump high in the air and burn his way through anything that stopped him. Family and neighbors had now fled in a panic, and when the more courageous of them returned, Slater was gone, leaving behind an unrecognizable pulp-like thing that had been a living man but an hour before. Oh, jeez. None of the mountaineers had dared to pursue him, and it is likely that they would have welcomed his death. Oh, I found the thing. But from the cold, but when several mornings later they heard his screams from a distant ravine, they realized that he had somehow managed to survive. Nice. And that his removal in one way or another would be necessary. They had followed an armed searching party whose purpose, whatever it may have been, originally became that of a sheriff's posse after one of the seldom popular state troopers had by accident observed, then questioned, and finally joined the seekers. On the 3rd day, Slater was found unconscious in the hollow of a tree and taken to the nearest goal, where alienists from Albany examined him as soon as his senses returned. To them, he had told a simple story. He had gone to sleep one afternoon about sundown after drinking much liquor. Oh my God. He had awaked to find himself standing bloody-handed in the snow before his cabin, the mangled corpse of his neighbor, Peter Slater, at his feet. Horrified, he had taken to the woods in a vague effort to escape from the scene of what must have been his crime. Beyond these things, he seemed to know nothing, nor could the expert questioning of his interrogators bring out a single additional fact. Lost my spot. That night, Slater slept quietly, and the next morning he awakened with no singular feature save a certain alliteration of expression. Dr. Bernard, who had been watching the patient, though he noticed in the pale blue eyes a certain gleam of particular quality. Jeez. And the flaccid lips and all that, and for some tightening, as I would tell you. On the third morning occurred the first of the man's mental attacks. After some of uneasiness and sleep, he burst forth into a frenzy so powerful that the combined efforts of 4 men were needed to bind him in a straitjacket. The alienists listened with keen attention to his words. Since their curiosity had been aroused to a high pitch by the suggestive, yet mostly conflicting and incoherent stories of his family and neighbors, Slater raved for upward of 15 minutes, babbling in his backwoods dialect of great edifices of lights, oceans of space, strange music, and shadowy mountains and valleys. But most of all did he dwell upon some mysterious blazing entity that shook and laughed and mocked at him. This vast, vague personality seemed to have done him a terrible wrong, and to kill it in triumphant revenge was his paramount desire. In order to reach it, he said, he would soar through abysses of emptiness, burning every obstacle that stood in his way. Thus ran his discourse until, with the greatest suddenness, he ceased. The fire of madness died from his eyes. And in dull wonder, he looked at his questioners and asked why he was bound. Oh, jeez. I can't find it. I can't find it. I can't find it. Dr. Bernard unbuckled the leathern harnesses and did not restore it till night. When he succeeded in persuading Slaughter to don it of his own volition, for his own good, the man had now admitted that he sometimes talked queerly, though he knew not why. Within a week, too, more attacks appeared, but from the doctors learned little. On the source of Slater's visions, they speculated at length, for since he could neither read nor write and had apparently never heard a legend or fairy tale, his gorgeous imagery was quite inexplicable. That it could not come from any other known myth or romance was made especially clear by the fact that the unfortunate lunatic expressed himself only in his own simple manner. Oh, I want to beat this guy so much. He raved the things he did not understand and could not interpret, things which he claimed to have experienced, but which he could not have learned through any normal or connected narration. The alienists soon agreed that abnormal dreams were the foundation of the trouble. Dreams whose vividness could for a time completely dominate the waking minds. Wow. completely dominate the waking mind of this basically inferior man with due formality. Slater was tried for murder, acquitted to the ground of insanity, and committed to the institution wherein I held so humble a post. I have said that I am a constant speculator concerning dream life, and from this you may judge of the eagerness with which I applied myself to the study of the new patient. As soon as I had fully ascertained the facts of his case, he seemed to sense a certain friendliness in me, born no doubt of the interest I could not conceal in the gentle manner in which I questioned him. Not that he ever recognized me during his attacks, when I hung breathlessly upon his chaotic but cosmic word pictures. But he knew me in his quiet hours. When he would sit by his barred window, weaving baskets of straw and willow, and perhaps pining for the mountain. Mountain freedom he could never enjoy again. Wow. And perhaps pining for... his family never called to see him. Probably it had found another temporary head, after the manner of decadent mountain folk. By degrees I commenced to feel an overwhelming wonder at the mad and fantastic conceptions of Joe Slaughter. The man himself was pitiably inferior in mentality and language alike, but his glowing titanic visions, though described in a barbarous and disjointed jargon, were assuredly things which only a superior or even exceptional brain could convince. How, I often asked myself, could the stolid imagination of a Catskill degenerate conjure up sights whose very possession argued a lurking spark of genius? How could any backwoods dullard have gained so much as an idea of those glittering realms of supernatural radiance and space about which Slater ranted in his furious delirium? More and more I inclined to the belief that in the pitiful personality who cringed before me lay the disordered nucleus of something that... something beyond my comprehension, something infinitely beyond the comprehension of my more experienced but less imaginative colleagues. But less imaginative medical and scientific colleagues, and yet I could extract nothing definite from the man. The sum of all my investigation was that in a kind of semi-incorporeal dream life, Slater wandered or floated through resplendent and prodigious valleys, meadows, gardens, cities, and palaces of light, in a region unbounded and unknown to man, that there he was no peasant or degenerate, but but a creature of importance and vivid life, moving with proudly and dominantly, and checked only by a certain deadly enemy who seemed to be a being of visible yet ethereal structure, and who did not appear to be of human shape, since Slaughter never referred to it as a man or as aught save a thing. This thing had done Slater some hideous but unnamed wrong, but which the maniac, if maniac he were, yearned to avenge. From the manner in which Slaughter alluded to their dealings, some hideous but unnamed, I judge that he and the luminous thing had met on equal terms. Lost my page. Thing of the same race as his enemy. This impression was sustained by his frequent references to flying through space and burning all that impeded his progress. I gotta read. This impression was by his progress, yet these conceptions were formulated in rustic words, wholly inadequate to convey them. A circumstance which drove me to the conclusion that if a true dream world indeed existed, oral language was not its medium for the transmission of thought. Could it be that the dream soul inhabiting this inferior body was desperately struggling to speak things which the simple and halting tongue of dullness could not utter? Could it be that the dream soul inhabiting this inferior body was desperately struggling to speak things which the simple and halting tongue of dullness could not utter? Could it be that I was face to face with intellectual emanations which would explain the mystery if I could but learn to discover and read them? I did not tell older physicians of these ideas, for middle age is skeptical, cynical, and disinclined to accept new ideas. Besides the head of the institution had but lately warned me in his paternal way that I was overworking, that my mind needed a rest. Yes. It had been long my belief that human thought consists basically of atomic or molecular motion convertible into aether waves of radiant energy. Radiant energy like heat, light, and electricity. This belief had early led me to contemplate the possibility of telepathy, of mental communication by means of suitable apparatus, and had in my college days prepared a set of transmitting and receiving instruments somewhat similar to the cumbrous devices employed in wireless telegraphy at that crude pre-radio period, that as I had tested with a fellow student, but achieving no result, I had soon packed them away with other scientific odds and ends for possible future use. Now, and my now in my intense desire to probe into the life dream of Joe Slaughter. Joe Slaughter, I sought these instruments again. Yes. And spent several days in repairing them for action. When they were complete once more, I missed no opportunity for their trial. At each outburst of Slaughter's violence, I would fit the transmitter to his forehead and the receiver to my own, constantly making delicate adjustments for various hypothetical wavelengths of intellectual energy. I had but little notion of how the thought impressions would, if successfully conveyed, arouse an intelligent response in my brain, but I felt certain that I could detect and interpret them accordingly, I continued my experiments, though informing no one of their nature. It was on the 21st of February, 1901, that the thing finally occurred. As I look back across the years, I realize how unreal it seems, and sometimes half wonder if old Dr. Fenton was not right when he charged when he charged it all to my excited imagination. I recall that I listened with great kindness and patience. When I told him, but afterward gave me a nerve powder and arranged for the half-year's vacation. I told him, but afterward gave me a year's vacation, on which I departed the next week. The fateful night, I was wildly agitated and perturbed, for despite the excellent care he had received, Joe Slaughter was unmistakably dying. Perhaps it was his mountain freedom that he missed. Or perhaps the turmoil in his brain had grown too acute for his rather sluggish physique. But at all events, the flame of vitality flickered low in the decadent body. He was drowsy near the end, and as darkness fell, he dropped off into a troubled sleep. And drowsy sleep. Drowsy sleep. Oof. Drowsy near the end and as troubled sleep. I did not strap on the straitjacket, as was customary. Customary when he slept, since I saw that he was too feeble to he was too feeble to be dangerous, even if he woke in mental disorder. And even if he woke in mental disorder, once more before passing away, but I did place upon his head and mine the two ends of my cosmic radio, hoping against hope for a last and final message. Final message from the dream world in the brief time remaining. Brief time remaining. In the cell with us was one nurse, a mediocre fellow, and the brief. In the brief. Okay. The cell was a mediocre fellow who did not understand the purpose of the apparatus or think to inquire into my course. As the hours wore on, I saw his head droop awkwardly in sleep, but I did not disturb him. I myself, lulled by the rhythmical breathing of the healthy and the dying man, must have nodded a little later. The sound of a weird lyric melody was what aroused me. Ugh. Chords, vibrations, and harmonic ecstasies echoed patiently on every hand, while on my ravished sight burst the stupendous spectacle of ultimate beauty. Walls, columns, and architraves of living fire blazed effulgently around the spot where I seemed to float in air, extending upward to an infinitely high vaulted dome of indescribable splendor is blending with this display of palatial magnificence. Magnificence. G-spot. Or rather, supplanting it at times. I can't. Just scale already. Kaleidoscopic rotation. Where glimpses of wide plains and graceful of scenery with my delighted eye could conceive of, yet formed wholly of some glowing ethereal plastic entity which in consistency partook as much of spirit as of matter. As I gazed as I gazed and as I gazed, I perceived that my whole brain held the key to these enchanted enchanting metamorphoses for each vista, which appeared to me was the one my changing mind most wished to, yes, to behold. Amidst this Elysian realm, I dwelt not as a stranger, for each sight and sound was familiar to me, just as it had been for uncounted eons of eternity before, and would be for like eternities to come. Then the resplendent aura of my brother of light drew near and held colloquy with me soul to soul, with silent and perfect interchange of thought. The hour was one of approaching triumph, for was not my fellow being escaping at last from a degrading periodic bondage, escaping forever and preparing to follow the accursed oppressor, even unto the uttermost the uttermost fields of earth, ether, that upon its might be wrought a flaming gee, I can't do it against this guy. Flame cosmic vengeance, which would shake the what? Shake the what now? Shake the spheres. We floated thus for a little time when I perceived when I perceived a slight blurring and fading of objects around us, as though some force I can't. Oh my god. Some force were calling me to Earth, where I last wished to go. The form near me seemed to feel a change also, for it gradually brought its discourse to last wish to go, fading from my sight at a rate which somewhat less rapid than that of the objects. A few more thoughts were changed. I knew that the luminous one and I were being recalled to bondage, though for my brother of light it would be the last time. The starry planet shell being well nigh spent, in less than an hour my fellow would be free to pursue the oppressor along the Milky Way, and pass the heather stars to the very confines of infinity. A well-defined shock separates my final impression of the fading scene of light from my sudden and somewhat shamefaced awakening and straightening up in my chair as I saw, The dying figure on the couch moved hesitantly. Joe Slater was indeed awaking, though probably for the last time. As I looked more closely, I saw that in the sallow cheeks some spots of color which had never which had never which had never before been present. The lips too seemed unusual, being tightly compressed as if by the force of a stronger character than had been Slaughter's. A stronger force than had been Slaughter's. Stronger force that had been Slaughter's. The whole face finally began to grow tense, and the head turned relentlessly with closed eyes. I did not arouse the force of a stronger character to a force of a stronger character than had been Slaughter. Jeez, I messed up. Right. I did not arouse the sleeping nurse, but readjusted the slightly the slightly disarranged headbands of my telepathic radio intent to catch okay. Intent to catch any parting message the dreamer might have to deliver. All at once the head turned sharply in my direction, the eyes fell open, causing me to stare in blank amazement at what I beheld. The man who had been Joe Slaughter, the Catskill decadent, was now gazing at me with a pair of luminous, expanded eyes whose blue seemed suddenly to have deepened. Neither mania nor degeneracy was visible in that gaze, and I felt beyond a doubt that I was viewing a face behind which lay an active mind of high order. At this juncture, my brain became aware of a steady external influence operating upon it. I closed my eyes to concentrate my thoughts more profoundly, and was rewarded by the positive knowledge that my long-sought mental message had come at last. Each transmitted idea formed rapidly in my mind, and though the page, it won't stay. Foot. No actual language was employed. My habitual association of conception and expression was so great that I seemed to be receiving the message in ordinary English. Joe Slaughter is dead, came the soul-petrifying voice or agency from beyond the wall of sleep. My opened eyes sought the couch of pain and curious horror, but the blue eyes were still calmly gazing. And the countenance was still intelligently animated. He is better dead, for he was... Wait, what just happened? For he was unfit to bear the active... and the active intellect of cosmic entity. His gross body could not undergo the needed adjustments between ethereal life and planet life. He was too much of an animal, too little of a man. Jesus. Yet it is through his deficiency that you have come to discover me, for the cosmic and planet souls rightly should never meet. He has been my torment and diurnal prison for 42 of your terrestrial years. I am an entity like that which you yourself become in the freedom of dreamless sleep. I am your brother of light and have floated with you in the effulgent valleys. It is not permitted to me to tell your waking earth self of your real self, but we are all roamers of vast spaces and travelers in many ages. Next year I may be dwelling in the dark Egypt which you call ancient, or in the cruel empire of Su Chan, which is to come 3,000 years hence. You and I have drifted to the worlds that reel about the red Arcturus and dwelt in the bodies of the insect philosophers that crawl proudly over the fourth moon of Jupiter. How little does the earth self know of life and its extent? How little indeed ought it to know for its own tranquility? Or the oppressor... oppressor... jeez. Where is it? Stupid. Of the oppressor I cannot speak. You on earth have unwittingly felt its distant pressure. Distant presence. Wait. Oh. It is to meet and conquer the oppressor that I have vainly striven for aeons. Oh, okay. You who without knowing and conquer the oppressor... You who, without knowing, idly gave to its blinking beacon the name of Algol, the Daemon Star. It is to meet and conquer the oppressor that I have vainly striven for aeons, held back by bodily encumbrances. Tonight, I go as a nemesis, bearing just and blazingly cataclysmic vengeance. Watch me in the sky close by the Daemon Star. I cannot speak longer, for the body of Joe Slater grows cold and rigid, and the coarse brains are ceasing to vibrate as I wish. You have been my friend in the cosmos. You have been my only friend on the planet. The only soul to sense and seek for me. For me, we shall... The only soul to sense and seek for me within the repellent form which lies on this couch. We shall meet again. Perhaps in the shining mist shining mists of Orion's sword, perhaps on a bleak plateau and prehistoric plateau and prehistoric Asia. Perhaps in an unnumbered dreams tonight. Stop moving. The stick's getting stuck. Perhaps in some other form in aeon hence, when the solar system shall have been swept away. At this point, the thought waves abruptly ceased, and the pale eyes of the dreamer, or can I say dead man, commenced to glaze fishily. In a half stupor, I crossed over to the couch, and I felt of his wrist, but found it cold. Found it cold, stiff, and pulseless. The sallow cheeks paled again, and the thick lips fell open, disclosing the repulsively rotten fangs of the degenerate Joe Slaughter. I shivered to pull the blanket over the hideous face and awaken the nurse. Then I left the cell and went silently to my room. I had an instant and unaccountable craving for sleep whose dreams I should not remember. The climax, what plain tale of science can boast of such a rhetorical effect? I have merely set down certain things appealing to me as facts, allowing you to construe them as you will. As I have already admitted, my superior, old Dr. Fenton, denies the reality of everything I have related. He vows that I was broken down with nervous strain and badly in need of the long vacation on fully pay of which he so generously gave me. He assures me on his professional honor that Joe Slaughter was but a low-grade paranoiac whose fantastic notions must have come from the crude hereditary folk tales which circulate in even the most decadent of communities. All this he tells me, yet I cannot forget what I saw in the sky on that night after Joe Slaughter died. Lest you think me a biased witness, another's pen must add this final testimony, which may perhaps supply the climax you expect. I will quote the following account of the star Nova Persei, verbatim from the pages of that eminent astronomical authority, Professor Garrett P. Service. Final paragraph. On February 22nd, 1901, a marvelous new star was discovered. by Dr. Anderson of Edinburgh. From not very far from Algol. No star had been visible at that point before. Within 24 hours, the stranger had become so bright that it outshone Capella. In a week or two, it had visibly faded, and in the course of a few months, it was hardly discernible within the naked eye. There, I did it! Beyond the Wall of Sleep by H.P. Lovecraft, everybody. Oh, there's actually people in the chat. Yay! Hello, everybody. I did it. I'm watching the screen now. I'm playing the game. Oh my gosh. I had so many techniques going there. I would read ahead and then very quickly just play on the screen and recite what I just saw. Oh, it was super fun, but there was some parts in it like oh my god. It was too much. I'm actually playing worse, aren't I? That'd be funny. Oh, it's barely off. Oh, jeez. My grab button isn't very responsive on this GameCube controller. That's why I barely used it. Oh, jeez, the spike. I feel like glancing down at the book because I've been doing it for so long. He's gonna try to spike me, right? No effort. No effort. Yes! That's how we do it, boy! Alright. Oh. Hello, Piggy. Hello, Keep Calm, Stay Strong. Hello, M&T Productions. Oh, this boy that joins spam chat and was very mad. I don't think he's still here. Piggy Bank says, is this some kind of elaborate training? I guess. Sure felt like it. Oh, it took me an hour. It took me like, what, 25 minutes the first time I read that? Let's just keep it. Let's keep it how we were playing. With just Robin. I've come to appreciate Robin. Even though, I mean, I like the book and sword mechanics. That's very fun. You use one too much, you're forced to use the other. It's very nice. I should have got my other thing. It's a lot easier to grab because it's mapped to the secondary jump button. That was funny. Jeez. Just so you know, if you don't know, H.P. Lovecraft is a writer of cosmic horror. It was the term that they've coined for H.P. Lovecraft. He was a writer in the 1920s, I think, is when he really got it. He lived as a recluse. Didn't have a very interesting life, but he wrote a lot of very strange things. And The Wall of Sleep is just a short story that he... Yes! I love doing that. It's so satisfying. The Wall of Sleep, Beyond the Wall of Sleep is just I guess it was before all of the mythology he was building at the time for like Cthulhu and whatnot. The Cthulhu mythos, if you wanna research it. Oh, my sword's about to run out. Frick. Yeah. Wow, indeed. Oh, you know, after that, I could use some nice cold hard Fortnite. No. Oh, you can't trick me. Oh. Oh, the sword. The sword got him. That's funny. That's funny. Yes, yes, give me more HP. Give me more HP. Yes. Oh, it killed. Oh my gosh. He doesn't know what to do. I bamboozled him. Okay, I'm gonna launch him. Then gonna build up my book. Oh, my book's about to run out, isn't it? Throw it. No! I was like, if that's gonna kill. Oh! Oh! Oh, don't have my book. I forgot. It's not like the sword where you get like a inferior version. So I can only use smash attacks. Is that right? Oh, it's back. It's back. Ah, frick. I'm doing pretty good. Come on. Oh, you don't got me yet. You don't got me yet. Oh, man. Oh. And that's how I play without reading a book. Rarely. Very rarely. You throw in the Kirby DDD Meta Knight mix and then you get some varied results, but oh, I felt like that would probably be a very entertaining stream just to watch. I got a lot of KOs. You saw that? You saw the badges? That was the KOs I got. I got a lot of KOs. Very proud of that. So who's this little man who stopped by? Is he still here? Guess not. Such sadness. He did not realize that I could not speak to him, for it disabled the rules of my my little challenge here. Very fun. I'd love to do something like this again. Some other different challenge between when Ultimate comes out. It was very fun. Muy bueno. Let's see. What could be next time? Not sure. Maybe some kind of inverted controls, something like that. Mess up the control scheme, even though you can't change movement. It's a little sad. Well, for everyone that is watching and did watch, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the story. I was originally just gonna watch the story and just normally. I mean, did I say watch? Read the story just normally with a little picture in the background for funsies, and I decided to do this instead. I didn't think people would enjoy me just reading the book on my own, and it was definitely a lot more entertaining for me and hopefully for the viewers to witness this. I hope some other streamers for Smash see this stream and decide to do this challenge with some other hard to read short story. I mean, it would have been a lot easier with something like what's the thing? Puppy Palace. That's one that would be fairly easy to read. That's practically a short story. It has more pages, but the print is as large as my thumbnails. Okay. Thank you, everybody. See you around. Ta-ta, goodbye. Have a daily dose of Mystery Man Bro video.